Welcome to the Damn Opinion Podcast. Spoiler alert. Listener discretion advised.
Oh, welcome to Damn Opinion. I'll tell you what, this is going to be an incredible show. Incredible.
This might be our best show.
It really might
ever.
be. It really might be.
I think we say spoiler alert because this podcast has an expiration date.
Is that right?
I think so.
How so?
You have to open within 72 hours.
Oh, because
Yes.
other than that, it spoils.
Yes.
Right. Spoiler alert. Kind of like 2% milk.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm with you then. Welcome to our show. I am your co-host, Bill Craig.
I'm glad you remembered your name.
Yes. And I have my buddy over here who's incredibly sassy tonight, Mr. Mark Montgomery.
Hello.
And then, of course, how's your throat, James?
It's getting better.
Why do you ask that question?
James Smith is with us.
And I'm not sassy.
Yeah. No, he's never sassy. That's,
I'm just an asshole.
yeah, you pretty much are. But you're the nicest asshole around.
That's
You
right.
really are.
Don't you ever forget it.
Oh, yeah.
How does that rank?
Hey, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Please do.
Yeah, we would love that if you would. Also, go to our website, damnopinion.com.
And leave us a message.
Yeah, Mark takes all the messages, and here's what happens. He gets all the messages, never tells us that we got messages. Like, James and I are actually getting, like, lots of fan mail, and he isn't. And I think he's jealous.
We never know. He's
Yeah.
out meeting people in back alleys.
Yeah. Yeah,
He's
doing all kinds of-
responding nasty emails to people. Don't ever listen to our show again.
Right, exactly. He's also making backdoor deals, like with advertisers, and keeping all the money.
Actually, it's Mark, so he's just deleting it.
That's right. He's deleting all the fan mail. Like, literally, we have 18-year-old cheerleaders wanting our phone numbers. And he just deletes it all.
We have whole communities of retired people
Yeah,
beating down our door to listen to us.
exactly. And Mark deletes them.
Yep.
So
Wait, did I miss something? You guys were saying something?
if you're a big fan of James Smith, and I know you are, then contact him directly at jamessmith.com.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah. Just look him up on Facebook. I'm sure he's easy to find with James Smith.
Check the yellow pages. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All right, Mark, what are you into?
What am I into?
Yes, what are you into?
All right. So I did watch this show recently, which I'm like, okay, what am I going to find on television that's really good to watch?
Okay.
So my father-in-law runs across this show called Goliath. It's an older show. It's been around for probably 5 years. It's with Billy Bob Thornton.
Love Billy Bob Thornton.
Okay. Sling Blade obviously is what he's known for, and being married to Angelina Jolie. But it's a crazy good show. Like, every character in the show is really good.
He's really good. Did you see the first season of Fargo?
I did not.
He plays the killer, and he is really good in it.
Really?
Yeah. Watch it.
Okay. I highly recommend Goliath. It's only out for 4 seasons. Not because it got bad, but the producers and everybody said, you know what, we want to end on a high note. Every season was excellent. 5 stars across the board. And every season is its own story, but the characters carry over.
Yeah.
So really, really good.
I love it when they know, they go out on a high. Like Breaking Bad was that way. Sopranos was probably that way. There's lots of shows that are like that.
It's true.
So if you get a chance, go watch it. It's really good.
What are you watching it on?
TV. I just watched it on my big screen right there.
Such a dummy.
I know.
What streaming platform?
Apple is what I'm watching on, but I think it's on another one too.
Okay.
So it's been out for a while.
Okay. Well, that's very cool.
What about you, William?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm into as soon as I can remember. No, I'm just kidding. Well, it's that time of year, boys.
What?
It's that time of year.
What?
What
are you talking about?
Underwear Olympics is coming.
What?
It's the NFL Combine is coming in. That's where all of the football players get in their underwear. They run around. They throw balls. They run.
Like lab rats.
This just went like NC-17.
Yeah, it did.
You're in your underwear throwing balls.
Yeah. They used to literally be in their underwear. And now they have Under Armour or some company
Gives them boxers.
They are color coordinated by position. So you know if they're wearing...
Like American Gladiators, basically.
If they're an offensive lineman, they have orange or whatever.
Why are they running around in their underwear when they're going to have to be wearing pads and everything? Why wouldn't they just fully gear them up and make them run?
This is just so that they can analyze everything. Like how fast they can run without pads.
But why? Because they're going to be fully geared up.
Agreed. So they already know what they look like on a game. They can see the game tape. So now they're like just stripping them of all their power.
And dignity.
And dignity, yeah.
What,
there is a famous
end of your calendar? What are they doing?
Well, they're doing all the drills, stupid drills. And as a matter of fact, a lot of these kids, they play their football season in college, and then they go to special camps and go with experts, and they teach them how to do the drills. And
I'm sure they do with these special camps.
Yeah.
It's all hype. You get the guy who's 6'6", 300, and can run a 440 flat. They're like, freak of nature is going to be amazing. Then you get him on your team, and the fans are all, how come he's not playing? Because he's not a great football player. He's just an amazing athlete.
And he looks really good in those red boxers.
Yeah, yeah. So every now and then you have an outlier who is a great athlete at the combine, and they do great, and they end up being a great football player. But most of the time it's, what does the film say, and how did they work it out? Right? Yeah. But there's so many, like, James, you're more of a college guy than me. There's so many guys that are really great athletes and they play at a smaller school, or okay athletes and they play at a bigger school, and it's hard to compare them. So they're trying to make it even across the board. And
I don't know why they're doing it, because they know who they're getting.
Yeah.
They've looked at the game tape. They've talked to coaches. They've interviewed them already. They don't need to see them jump how far and how fast they can run.
Okay, yeah. So let's make this entertaining, because right now it's still not. I have no idea why they even do it. What are the things they do at the combine?
Literally, they run a 40-yard dash, right?
They run cones. They have you jump and how high you can, reach.
Okay.
It's all physical acts of strength and agility.
Now, they also do, like the quarterbacks, they test for how far they can throw it and how accurate they are. And
alone, with no one around you.
Right.
Okay.
How far you can throw it on the field.
Right.
All right.
Yeah. So, honestly, I am so excited about it, but not really, because it's I really like to watch it for the quarterbacks to see how they throw, and really, even more so, I like to see their attitudes.
And what day is the combine?
Oh, it's a whole week. It's coming up right now.
Okay, then.
Yeah. So it's fun to watch if you are really bored and have nothing else.
Yeah, I was like, golf might be more fun.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah.
Even as a football fan, the combine for me is it's lab rats.
What's so weird is how they call it the combine. Why don't they call it combine? Why do they call it offense? Why don't they call it offense? Why do they call it defense? It should be defense. These are things, it's like some country guy.
So the NFL enunciates
defense.
They enunciate their first.
Right. Somebody from
part of the word.
Yeah, Bear Bryant was probably the first guy.
Bear Bryant.
Bear Bryant.
What are you into, James?
Well, I might have said it last week. I was watching baseball today, and
wait, it's spring training, right?
It's spring training.
Okay.
So it's just spring training baseball means absolutely nothing, because most of the guys playing literally were working at Subway next week or down in AAA. But Shohei Ohtani, first spring training at bat, goes yard on his very first at bat.
And that is slang for a home run, people.
Just setting the tone for what the Dodger season will be.
Okay, no, that was that was a setup. They threw him the soft pitch and he whacked it out of the park.
No, actually, he threw him a pretty good curveball, and when he hit it, I didn't think it was going out. But Shohei is so strong, he put it to the opposite field, and I thought it was a pop-up when it first left his bat, but it just carried. He's so strong that he muscled it out. Wow. It wasn't like a majestic, and you watch it go. I thought it was a flyout. But he's just so strong.
So I want to know, because you love baseball, when he hit that home run, did you actually laugh out loud in your house?
No, I didn't laugh out loud. I was like, yeah, woo!
He had a little pony that he was hitting.
It is baseball time.
And that's why he gets paid how much?
$700 million.
Over 10 years.
Over 10 years.
Didn't they just sign a new guy from Japan, too?
Yamamoto.
So now they can talk to each other in their native tongue.
So Yamamoto, these two guys are like Jordan and Pippen.
Really?
Yeah, they played together on the national Japanese baseball team. Yamamoto is no slouch himself.
And
everybody over here is like, yeah, Yamamoto, whatever. In Japan, they're like, Yamamoto. So the Dodgers have 2 Japanese superstars on their team.
I wonder if there's going to be like a lot of Japanese baseball fans.
Yes, there are now.
Well, I mean, just locally from LA, like the whole Japanese community starts going to a lot of games.
Again, I don't think the Dodgers are going to win the World Series, but today was fairly nice. The sun was out. Baseball's on. It's summer. It's coming. It's still spring, but it's coming. It's setting the tone. I am over winter. I'm over cold. I want warm. I want the sound of baseball.
So when does the regular season start typically? After March Madness?
Yeah.
In April.
It's usually the first couple days of April, but sometimes they'll have a game like the last week of March, like on a Thursday night like the NFL does. They have like a kickoff game and then the season starts.
Is there a kickoff game this year?
I haven't looked, Jack, actually.
Okay. All right. That's fun. But basically, if the Dodgers don't win the World Series every single year for the next 7 years, it's a failure.
Yeah, they won't.
Yeah.
They're screwed no matter what. If they win, everybody's going, you should. And if they don't, they can't do anything right. It's baseball. It's so hard. Baseball is the hardest sport to win. You play 162 games and then you get down to the end and it's not one game, it's a few games. So you can get in a slump or you can get hot. Baseball's the hardest to repeat.
It must be nice though being a fan of the Dodgers where hey, they're doing every single thing that they can to win.
Yeah.
And that feels good.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the guy, the last one at the bar, doing everything he can to win. Strike out.
Crickets.
That's what that guy hears walking home by himself.
I've been waiting to play that button and, all right, great. Okay. So
I'm the only one who came up with something that would be entertaining for somebody who doesn't like sports.
Okay, how about this? The guy from Pop-Tarts died. The guy who invented Pop-Tarts.
That was before.
I know. It was like last week.
Yeah.
And I bought some Pop-Tarts.
And
there's your entertainment, people.
What flavor did you buy?
Cherry.
Frosted or unfrosted?
Frosted.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we've had Pop-Tart talk before.
Yes, we have.
But I had to go with cherry.
Did you cry?
I did. When he died?
No, when you were putting them in the toaster.
Yeah. Why would I cry when I was putting them in the toaster?
Thinking of the guy who created them.
Yeah.
How good they are.
Yeah. Think about that. That guy's, he set a legacy like no other person could.
You know what I'm really into that I saw heard on the radio on the way here? It just reminded me that you really should be concerned about this, Bill.
Uh-oh.
Did you see this on the news today? That Wendy's is going to start using dynamic pricing.
Yes.
Dynamic pricing. What is that?
So at lunchtime, your $18 Whopper really could be $30.
What? Why?
It's flexible pricing on demand.
What?
Yeah, like Uber driving, basically. You want an Uber, it's usually $10. But if there's a concert in town, your Uber might be $50. Wendy's is going to roll that out. And everyone is so mad. And other companies are going to be watching because they're going to be like, if you can get away with that, I can get away with it. The thing I think is funny is they shouldn't call it dynamic pricing. They should just call it price increase. Because at no point am I going to pull up and that $25 Whopper is going to be $10. It doesn't go down. It just goes up for dynamic pricing.
So there's always a base price and it just goes up.
Yeah, flexible, how busy they are.
I guarantee you.
So there's no happy hour Wendy's.
No.
Well, I guarantee you go there at midnight and nobody's there. And it's not going to be $9.95. It's still going to be $50.
You're paying, that's because you're paying for after hour service.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Wendy's is already one of the worst customer service, and their pricing is so expensive.
But they have a square burger.
Fast food is going to drive themselves out of business.
Yeah, it is very odd. It's very odd. I mean, when I saw that, and I did see that in the news, I thought, I'm just going to stay home.
Yeah.
I mean, this is complete bullshit.
Do you realize it's better for you? Because if you don't want to get out of your car, you just pull up to a Chili's in the little parking spot up front. When you place your order, they'll bring your order right out to you and then you drive away. It's just like going through a drive-through.
Oh, yeah.
And you get better food, probably more food for a cheaper price.
People are going to have to, because think about it. You're at work, right? Now, I don't have it because I work from home, but you have a 12 to 1 window. You want to get something fast, get back to work. You pull up, my burger's double. What?
Yeah.
You don't always have time to go to a Chili's or call in somewhere you want to get something fast. So a lot of
crazy.
people do fast food, but good Lord.
But they sneak all this stuff up on you, right? Like everywhere you go now, you're being guilted into tipping.
Somebody is going to create a fast food restaurant that only serves like 5 things, and it's going to be reasonably priced, and they're going to kill it.
To your point, I went to a ramen place yesterday. We walk in, it's got the screens right there. I touch my own, food on the screen, and at the end it's like tip. It's like, what? For you to bring it to the table?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to tip for that?
Yeah, exactly. But did you tip?
No. I did all the other work. I'm not going to tip. You're just literally walking it out to me.
They spit in your food, you know that. Right?
Whatever.
There you go. One of the reasons why you may not want to not tip.
That's a double negative.
I usually tip for something like that. I'm not tipping at Chipotle. Why am I tipping here?
Right.
You can chip it to Chipotle.
I'm not tipping at Chipotle.
Or you can chip at Chipotle.
Chip at Chipotle.
It's another way for the companies to say, we'll have the middleman, the middle America pay for it.
Yeah.
Right. And even worse, when, more poor people buy fast food than anybody.
Correct.
And so it's the poor people paying for this stuff.
And fast food is already so ridiculously priced these days. It's insane.
And you're probably eating not real food either.
It's not real.
Yeah.
Processed.
Yeah. So.
Wow. This is depressing now. I got to go get a burger or a Pop-Tart.
So guys, what is our topic going to be today? I think, Mark, you thought of this.
I think it should be things that make us happy. You know what makes me happy?
Bubble gum and ice cream?
Yes. Can we talk about that?
Not being allowed 1,000 feet within a school.
That doesn't make me happy. Actually, the person that makes me happy is Betty Crocker.
And why is that?
Because she bakes wonderful things.
Yeah?
And you know what's really, really cool about this?
What?
Is that the month of March is Women's History Month.
I thought it was about leprechauns.
I thought it was March Madness.
Wow, you guys are so out of the loop.
So March is Women's Month.
Women's History Month, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so let's honor Betty Crocker and talk about the famous women in history.
Okay, we're going to talk about the famous women in history right after this.
Here we go now.
Got an idea for a topic? Who knows? We may reach out and use your suggestion on air. Let us know and visit damnopinion.com.
And we're back. James, you are the best, buddy.
I said we are going to talk about Women's History Month, and you lead with Betty Crocker.
Are you kidding? Let me explain why. She is like the queen of celebration.
She's not real.
What are you talking about? Of course she's real.
Is Betty Crocker a real
Betty
person?
Crocker, first of all,
She was a real person, but
she's known for
just like Ann Landers. There's been like 42 Betty Crocker.
but she's known for her celebratory cakes, obviously.
And her banana nut bread.
So my point
and
is,
her checkerboard cookbook.
nothing's going to make people happier about women in history than actually
Betty Crocker.
Betty Crocker.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
If you're celebrating women in history, you got to have a cake or a pie.
That's
Something
true.
that she would bake.
That's true.
That is true.
Hey, so I actually do think this is a great topic because when, here we are, 3 white middle-aged men talking about women.
We're past middle age.
Okay. Yeah, we're past middle age. But here's the thing.
Because we know so much about this.
Exactly. But here's the interesting thing. When you just go back to the 1970s, which we were kids when it was the 1970s, and it's like a divorced woman couldn't even buy their own property back then. We're talking in the 1970s, right? And like have you ever?
It was hard to do.
Have you ever? Yeah, you could still do it, but boy, oh boy, you probably had to have a man to help
you a loan.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had to prove you had tons of money. It wasn't just like a loan. Okay,
Or you had to
You
get
weren't banned from doing it, but the chances of you doing it was not easy.
right. Like, have you ever noticed if you buy a house, even to this day, it'll say, like, for instance, I bought my house and it said, William Craig, a single man. Why does it matter if I'm single? Why does it matter that I'm a man.
What are you talking about?
It's like when you buy real estate. Yeah, go look at your deed on your house. It'll say married
That's
man.
got to be a carryover from the history
Right.
somewhere.
And they were tracking it. They're tracking if you're single, married, divorced, a woman, a man, right? And this is just one of those things that we don't think about now because
We're part of the patriarchy.
right, we don't think about it. And it's like, really, that is crazy to me that a woman couldn't buy their own house back then, right? It's like you might have a nurse or a doctor and they're making tons of money. And it's very, very,
You're talking about
difficult.
one generation, 50 years ago.
Exactly, right? So it's like all of a sudden, when you start thinking, are you a person who wants women's rights? And we go, don't women have rights? Well, guess what? They didn't have the same rights even in our lifetime when we were growing up. And there's probably a lot of examples today where they don't have them still. So
Our parents had the same problem. Women really shouldn't work back then. You were frowned upon if you were working. Shouldn't you be raising your family?
yeah. And then divorced was like the scarlet letter. How many women were afraid to get divorced because they had absolutely zero opportunity?
Yep.
Right? So,
Well, there had to be a legitimate reason, especially if you're religious. You couldn't just say, yeah, I don't love him anymore.
yeah. Oh, yeah. You had to have a reason, right? It might be abuse or something like that. And maybe you even had to prove it. And even today, I heard a conservative talk show host. He lives in the Florida or the South, and he's like, women shouldn't be able to just divorce you, and it's like, what?
It's almost like the pendulum is swinging back again.
That's what it always does.
Yeah, it goes back and forth. But when it comes to life and people and options, I want more options, not less options.
That's why I want more cake.
That's
Eddie
true.
Crocker.
That's true. So anyway, I don't want to be on this big soapbox, but women have had to go through a lot. So think about how much they've had to go through in the 1800s, 1700s, and think about other countries today, right? So that's what we're talking about and celebrating, and it's good to know this stuff. And since you did so much research, Mark, let's hear about what some of your favorites.
Well, okay. I will bring up Sheila Michaels,
Okay.
born in 1939, died in 2017.
Okay.
Don't even know if she owned a house. That's really depressing now that you make me think about it.
Yeah.
But if you take her name, Sheila Michaels, and you reverse it, it's Michaels Sheila. She got an idea one day because back in the time, you weren't able to reference a woman the same way you'd reference a man, whether he's married or not married. It was Mr., right?
Right.
For women, it was Miss or Mrs. There was no in between. So you were single or you were married, and it was just not something appealing to a lot of women. They're like, well, that's not right. Why do I have to say if I'm married or not?
Yeah.
Just by the title of my name.
They still do it today.
But not according to Sheila Michaels, who said if I reverse that, it becomes MS, Ms., which is basically a preface to your name that women could use at the time. And so in 1969, she went to the radio and said, listen, instead of Miss or Mrs., everyone just needs to use Ms., MS.
Oh.
And it'll address previous to your name. People won't know if you're married or not married. And it actually gives you a generic term to use before that.
Wow. Okay.
And what's funny is Gloria Steinem, the famous activist, made her magazine after that radio talk show and titled it Ms., which basically pushed that premise forward. And so Sheila Michaels actually created MS for women to use before their name. So they don't have to be categorized as owned property or not yet of age.
And like we said, that was 1969.
You know what? So I am just learning this. I'm not even kidding here. Okay. I always thought that MS was short for Miss. So
No, it was the term that's non.
Just like Mr. MR.
Yeah.
This was
Right.
MS.
I had no idea. And I'll bet you half of America doesn't know that either.
Well, it's funny because it's just ironic that Sheila Michaels came up with it by reversing her initials by saying, wow, why couldn't it just be MS?
Right. Well, Mrs. and Miss, they both have yeah. That's amazing.
What a fun factoid by Mark.
Yeah. So every woman should be
Using Ms.
Ms.
If,
Yeah,
if they want to.
If they
Yeah,
want.
I mean, guys don't have to use Mr. in front of it, but if you use that particular preface in front of your name, you can.
Yeah. Very interesting. That's pretty cool. What
about you, James?
Well, my most famous woman is Ludmila Pavlichenko.
Oh, I love Ludmila Pavlichenko.
She was born in 1916.
Let me guess. She invented pickleball.
No.
Okay.
She died in 1974. She was a Soviet sniper during World War II.
Oh, yeah.
Credited with 309 confirmed kills, making her one of the deadliest snipers in history and single-handedly doing her part against the patriarchy.
So wait. Hold on. Listen to this. When was she born?
1916.
1916. Okay, so she was 30 by the time she went in to become a sniper.
Yeah.
All right.
309 confirmed kills.
Confirmed. That means she could have killed many more.
Yeah. She's like, screw these men, and shot 309 of them.
Wow. And, you know, a woman with a gun is just as dangerous as anybody if they know how to use it.
Yep.
Right?
The Soviets put their women to fight. Lots of countries did. The Soviets did.
Wow. Yeah, the Soviets put everybody to fight. And
Yeah.
if you turned around, you got killed.
Yeah, it's true.
Wow.
I think I heard a story once that women are better at shooting, like at a target. I don't know if
is that
it's just
right?
because they're calmer, their adrenaline isn't as pumped. I don't know. I think I've heard that before,
Wow.
so it doesn't surprise me.
Wow.
What about you, Bill?
Well, the first person that I thought of when Mark brought up this topic was Florence Nightingale, right?
Oh,
So-
she sings so well.
No, not that one.
Oh.
No. She led the first official team of British military nurses to Turkey during the Crimean War.
I love Turkey.
That was fought between British and Russia.
It's Crimean.
Crimean, thank you. And more soldiers died from disease than wounds, and so she started figuring this out. Well, she was nicknamed the Lady of the Lamp, right? And she'd make her rounds, but she implemented things like soap and water and things like that, and she discovered that type of stuff.
So cleaning a wound.
Yeah, just cleaning things and washing your hands. She'd make everybody, like the surgeons back then, they didn't even wash their hands.
No, they didn't
right?
know anything about that.
No. So, like, she's the godmother of nursing. Or
Well, credited
something
for
like that.
saving probably a ton of lives.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know what's funny, because I don't know this, but it's in my mind. I wish I knew the name. I believe it was a woman who discovered germs.
Right.
And
that's,
I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
But it's in my memory bank somewhere. And she proved that germs were causing a lot of infections when doctors were like, what are you talking about? There's no invisible thing causing this.
Right. Where, yeah, maybe Florence Nightingale maybe identified this, but didn't have proof.
There was another woman who identified
Yeah, no,
it
I'm
for
saying doesn't have proof that maybe the other woman figured out there are actually germs, right?
Wow.
So,
sure. Wow. Interesting.
what about you, Mark?
Well, do you know there's a female Paul Revere?
Who said the British are coming?
Just going to let that hang right there.
I'm sure there was, Mark.
Her name was Sybil Ludington. Ludington.
All right.
She actually rode twice as far as Paul Revere and twice as long time frame too. Not just twice as far, but twice as long. So she rode for nearly 40 miles to warn that the British were coming to get her father's militiamen to come and fight. And she made it there and warned people along the way. All she had was a large stick to beat off any highwaymen or anybody else that were trying to stop her. And she made it. She wasn't able to save Danbury, Connecticut, because the British landed there, but the militiamen made it back and fought them off. And so they weren't able to take hold. And so as much as we recognize Paul Revere, we never recognize the person that does twice as much behind the scenes. And that was Sybil Ludington, who, by the way, was only 16 years old at the time she did that.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Why was she in this position? Do you even
Because
know?
she went one direction while Paul went the other direction, but no one's talking about Sybil
Right.
and what she did to ride twice as far, twice as long to get the militiamen to go fight in Danbury, Connecticut.
Right.
So there you go.
That's crazy.
Well, women can't have the glory back then. It was men.
Right.
Only Betsy Ross. Make the flag.
Wow.
That's right.
That's it. Everybody else, think about it. Everybody else in the Revolutionary War basically is male that you think about.
That's true. Besides Betsy Ross,
yeah.
who is there?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, Martha Washington got ignored a lot, which is really sad.
She's just the wife of George.
The
Right.
wife of George.
That is crazy.
Wow.
What about you, James? Anybody?
Well, you can't have a list of the most famous women ever without putting Cleopatra on it.
Oh, I love Cleopatra.
Everybody loves Cleopatra.
I got commentary for this.
I'm
one.
sure you got a lot. Did you know that she was not Egyptian?
Yes.
What was she?
She was born in Egypt, but traced her family roots to the Greece and
Macedonian.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Not macadamia nut.
I know, I couldn't say it. After Alexander's death in 323, she was the product of incest. She actually had death.
What is a product of incest?
She had a hand in the deaths of her 3 siblings.
Doesn't that sound like somebody's just continuously making it and you can buy it on sale?
Well, like many royal houses, right? Everybody.
So she was a
married
result,
cousins.
a result of incest.
Yeah.
Her father and her mother weren't constantly like creating different things.
No, you had to sleep with within your dynasty to preserve the royal blood.
Right. Which the British have done since their teeth and ears. Keep going.
And well, I'm sure you have a million more, but she is one of the most famous women. And she, when you think about her, she exemplifies power and beauty.
Okay, she was very beautiful from what we understand.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
There are ones that say she wasn't as beautiful, but she was very charismatic, and that translated into her beauty.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think she only lived to like 37.
Yeah, she lived. Lots of people were trying to kill her.
But she spoke like 13 languages.
Yeah.
And she had her own scientific research area where she would do her own scientific research and test a lot of things, not only plants, different medicinal things. She would create different types of liquids that people to use to heal or things like that. And she was a huge politician. She not only dealt with the Romans, she dealt with the Egyptians, and she actually brought peace to both lands for a long time.
Well, that's one of her strengths, they say, is because she really wasn't that beautiful, but she portrayed herself as very beautiful. So her pictures went everywhere, and everyone was like, she's amazing and beautiful. And she was very charismatic and hypnotic to the Romans when they came, so they would go back and tell stories of her being so beautiful.
Well, she was supposed to die at the same time Alexander was, but didn't happen because she convinced them not to kill her, that she was going to be valuable in another instance by staying alive.
Correct.
But then they got her anyway.
Correct.
So
Now, here's an interesting thing.
Mark Antony, poor guy.
Think of somebody more famous than Cleopatra.
It's tough.
Beyonce.
That might be it. That might be it. But other than Beyonce, Cleopatra.
Will Beyonce still be popular in another 2,000 years?
No, not like Cleopatra.
No.
Think about it. There is no one else on the planet ever that existed that is more famous than
They're
Cleopatra.
still trying to find hers and Mark Antony's tomb.
Oh, is that right?
Or their tombs.
And just her mystique.
Yeah. But that she was the leader of the greatest country at the time, right? And then she brought the other greatest country into it, right? So that's interesting.
I wonder if she knew how to do the Egyptian dance.
The
Where you do the little
walk
thing with
like
one
an
hand.
Egyptian.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she probably did. She probably invented it.
She probably did.
Yeah. So for me, Marie Curie, right? She is also in the field of medicine here, and what she invented is radioactivity, right? So getting our
Woohoo!
she founded the new
Let's
science
celebrate that one.
of radioactivity.
She's a hot date.
But that means that she could do x-rays and those types of things. And then and she also developed ways to help cure cancer.
And how did she die, Bill? Would it be from radioactivity?
I have no idea.
I'm thinking that is the case.
Yeah.
Probably true.
If you look at the history, I think her death had to do with too much radioactivity.
Yeah, despite being ill from the radioactivity material she constantly handled, she never lost her determination to excel in the scientific career that she loved. So,
there you go.
So, but she was also the first woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize.
Now that's pretty big.
Yeah. And
In a
she's-
man's world.
And she's the first woman to win it twice as well. So,
Yeah.
Well-
in a man's world, that's pretty good.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you got to figure,
That's not so hard to accept the second statement, because if she won it the first time as the only woman to win, then she probably would be the one to win it twice.
Yeah, probably.
Was it for the same thing?
No, one was for radioactivity and one was for cancer. So
She got cancer, you won a Nobel Prize?
she helped with cancer. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
You're helping. Let me help give you cancer.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know you got a Nobel Prize for that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that.
By the way, no one here is allowed to say Charlize Theron is one of the most amazing women out there.
Okay.
No one.
All right, I've got one.
You just did.
The most forgotten famous person in America that's a woman is Rebecca Latimer Felton.
Yeah, I don't know who she is.
Rebecca Latimer Fulton. Let me explain what she was in history to America. She was the first woman senator. You're like, well, that's not so amazing. It is when you consider that she actually did it when she was much older, and she only was the U.S. senator for a day. Her husband passed away. Her husband's name was basically no one cares what her husband's name is. She was from Georgia. But what's crazy is that her husband passed away, and then literally they made her senator for a day. They would have kept her, except for one little problem. She was all for women's rights. And they're like, well, okay.
But you're from Georgia.
That might be fine. But what's crazy is she was a flaming racist.
She's from Georgia.
Like, blatant racist. Like,
She's from Georgia. Was
Wait.
she from Cobb County?
but just made it really clear, I'm a racist.
Yeah. Welcome to the South.
Yeah, pretty much. She was almost 100 years old when she passed away, but for a day, she was the first woman U.S. senator.
Wow. Okay.
Bill, what about you?
Well, you can't talk about great women without talking about Harriet Tubman, right? I'm serious. Like, you know, she was the Underground Railroad. That's true. Gal, and she was the middle child of 9 enslaved siblings. And, you know, obviously she was, you know, one of these people that help with women's rights. You just...
Who, Harriet Tubman?
Yeah.
You talking about Harriet Tubman might be my favorite of all time.
Do you know she went back and forth many times? She not only escaped with her own freedom, but she went back multiple times.
Mark literally could do this podcast without us. You know that.
You know that,
That
right?
is true. That's
like
true.
she went back so many times that she saved hundreds of people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And never got caught. Well, that's not true. She did. But there was one specific time. If you watch the movies, there's a movie, Bill, you can watch about this. That she avoids getting caught and getting killed by literally believing she's praying to God and God is leading her away from that path that she was going to get killed at.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, she stops. Like she was going to travel a normal path. She stops and she goes, no, we're going this way. And they're like, well, wait, that's longer. And she's like, no, we need to go this way. And she'd gone the other way the whole time.
You know that the U.S. Treasury is announcing a plan to replace Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill with Harriet Tubman.
Wow.
They've been talking about that for a little while,
That would be so cool.
but not in Georgia.
No, not in Georgia. Yeah, she rescued 300 people in 19 trips is basically what she
That's
did.
what I'm saying.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Wow. I mean, good for her. And she lived to be a ripe old age.
Yeah, she did.
What is a ripe old age? Where does that term
Just
come
remember
from?
to say that to me when I'm
Is
older.
there
You
a,
are a ripe old age.
yeah, because is there a rotten old age? That's what would happen after
I
ripe.
think I'm in the rotten old age.
Okay,
right now.
good. I just wanted to clarify that one.
What about you, James?
I don't think that you can have modern times without this woman on the list, especially not for my wife, and that would be Princess Diana.
Oh,
Okay, okay.
okay.
Everybody knows her,
That's the point.
but everybody knows Adele too.
Queen Elizabeth is more important.
I said in modern times.
Queen Elizabeth just died.
You're the one that doesn't even like the royals. I was
hate
the one that was
That's
all over
why
the royals.
I am saying, if we're going to talk about the royals, let's talk about the royal of royals.
But Diana kept people interested in the royals.
Yeah, that's not a good thing.
And she was, to today's day and age, the celebrity.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
She was a celebrity.
And so her name will live longer than a lot of women's because people will remember her for her little brief time that she was alive for helping people, AIDS, all that kind of stuff.
She gave someone AIDS?
She was the people's princess. She made, because of her popularity, the monarchy had to change what they were doing because they were like, we don't care.
I bet
and people literally were going to overthrow them because of her.
I bet you Marie Curie and Princess Diana would have gotten along between giving people cancer and giving people AIDS. They'd be good friends. What are you talking about?
I don't know. I just think that she was, obviously everyone loved Princess Diana.
Except you, obviously.
She's
dead,
helping people out. But it's like,
wow, too soon.
She is definitely dead. Yeah. But do you think Queen Elizabeth helped people too? I think she did, right?
She knighted a ton of people.
Yeah. If you ask most women of our age to name that influential list, Diana's going to be on it. It's not going to be Madame Curie. It's not going to be Joan of Arc. It's going to be Princess Diana.
Oh, Joan of Arc, poor girl. She never made it out of her teens either.
Your topic is the most famous women in history, and in our age right now,
is it the most famous women in history, or the greatest,
or the most influential?
Women? I guess
or the most.
She is influential. There is no doubt.
I'm not saying she's better than those people. I'm saying in our times right now, was one of the most influential women.
Sure, but I'm also Madonna is as well.
Not like
the first one, not the second.
The first Madonna, the immaculate one, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think the second one is starting to look like the first one.
Wow. Okay, if we're talking the most influential and throughout history, I got to bring one that goes way back. Then I'm talking 4,000 years.
4,000 years ago.
Yes, Enheduanna was her name.
Okay.
Enheduanna is the very first person, and she was from Mesopotamia and from the city of which is present-day Iraq. So we're going there. We're going there. Just wanted to say we're going there. Her role was at once religious, artistic, and political because her father, the king, tasked her with bringing people of different cultures together. She was a unifier. She wrote hymns, stories, poems, a whole bunch of different stuff. One of her most favorite things is called Exaltation of Inanna. But what's crazy about this, and no one knows about it that I'm mentioning, is because she literally has her name on the written material. Nobody else in history has their name that's that old and ancient in the world, except for this woman.
So what you're saying is she is the earliest author
of written word in the world that we have found today.
This is older than the Bible.
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
I'm not saying that there are that's not older works. There are older works that have been found, but there's no author to the stuff that's been written. This is the first time
that she wrote her name on it.
No, that anyone
wrote their name on it.
Is recognized being, yes, and it was a woman. So good for her.
Because she's like, nobody's signing these things.
No, do you remember in class when the teacher said, put your name in the upper left-hand corner? She listened, and no other guy did.
Exactly. She gets an A+.
Bingo. So good for her.
Now, what did she write mostly?
It was a bunch. Her father, the king at the time, of which is in current day Iraq, tasked her with basically saying, hey, bring a bunch of people together from different cultures. We want people to get along. We don't want to have any fighting anymore. So she wrote all these hymns and songs and poems and stories, and her name is all over them.
Wow.
So good for her.
That is good. That's pretty cool. I never even knew that.
So oldest written recognized author.
Yeah. So interesting to piggyback on that. So we went to the most oldest to probably the most current famous woman that isn't famous, maybe. It's at least here, it's like Malala Yousafzai. She is a Pakistani female education activist, right? She is from Pakistan, and she just is a human rights advocate for the education of women in her native homeland. So the Taliban had totally banned girls from attending school, and so her advocacy grew into an international movement. And she actually won the Nobel Peace Prize, and she is the youngest person to have done that.
At the age of?
17, right? And she started doing this when she was 11. She wrote a blog under the pseudonym Gul Makai, and she started talking about the occupation of the Taliban of Swat, which is where she lived. And the Taliban actually targeted her for an assassination attempt.
Like a lot of people.
Right. So she was struck in the head by a bullet remained unconscious and in critical condition. And then she recovered. And so now she continues to, be outspoken activist.
As an advocate.
Yeah. And actually, I have to say she was 14 and then.
Oh, when she started.
When she started.
But she won the Nobel at 17?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, cool.
And so youngest ever. And that is what they are going through. We were talking about buying houses earlier, but it's like, women don't even get to have the education. And as we all know, knowledge is power, right? The internet has empowered so many people. We don't even need school now. And these people, these women in these countries can't even get education like that.
But they can on their phone.
Yeah, you think they have internet over there, or they're allowed to watch on the internet?
Well,
I doubt
can't
it.
they just drive to the nearest coffee shop?
Yeah, I'm sure they can. I'm sure they can.
They can't see because they're so covered up. They can't drive.
Yeah, yeah, they can't drive either. They
Yeah,
probably can't drink coffee.
No rights at all.
Yeah, zero rights.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm going to drop a name on you. Ready?
Okay.
Ada Lovelace. No, it's not what you're thinking.
What am I thinking?
Not Lucy Lovelace.
Mm-hmm.
Ada Lovelace. She is known to be the first computer programmer. Born in 1815, died in 1852, which is pretty sad. She was the only legitimate daughter of Lord Byron, the famous author. Never knew her father, though. But what's crazy is her mother was paranoid that she would inherit her father's poetic, erratic behavior. And so she basically made her learn mathematics and science. If I could say that. I can't even speak.
Let alone do it.
But she basically said, you're going to learn math and science, and we're not going to teach you English or any of the arts. And so she spent her whole life learning that. And at the age of 17, her mentor, Charles Babbage, which that would be a horrible name to have, showed her a prototype for the difference engine, which is the world's first computer. It's all mechanical. It's not really digital, obviously. But in 1842, Babbage asked Lovelace to help translate an article for the plans for the newest machine, and she began researching it and said, hey, this can be used to do more than mathematics. You could use this machine to do a lot of different calculations and figure a ton of stuff out. In fact, it wasn't called the computer at the time. She goes, a device like this could really change the world. So in 1830, she basically predicted the onslaught of the computer in the modern age to the world and said this could be so much more than what you're doing just for mathematical calculations as a first type of...
Wow.
Back then they called it
alien.
She called it a super abacus back then.
But it was crazy.
still.
Yeah, it's really, really bizarre because it was called the difference engine. That was the title of this device.
Wow.
And so Ada Lovelace became the first computer programmer in the history of the world.
Wow. And she gets zero credit. Have you ever heard of Ada Lovelace?
Wow. They should name a computer.
The Lovelace computer.
Yeah,
Yep,
that would be very cool.
Instead of Apple, it's Ada.
Yeah.
There you go. I ate an apple.
Okay. So I'm going to help you out, James. You said your wife, who is an avid runner, would love Princess Diana.
Oh, she loves Princess Diana.
Okay.
Not would love. Loves.
Yeah. Like if she was on this podcast today, she'd be talking about her. But I think she should be talking about Catherine Switzer, right? So she's the first American woman to run in a Boston Marathon, right?
I love this story.
It is so great.
Have you seen the pictures of this?
I have. Isn't there a video too? Or is it just
I've only
pictures?
seen the still pictures.
So 1967 is when this happened, right? She's the first woman to run officially as a registered competitor. But during the run, race manager Jock Semple assaulted Switzer, trying to grab her bib number and
Of
therefore
course.
remove her
You
from
have to have a
competition.
name like that to assault somebody.
Yeah, exactly. So
Didn't she sneak in, though?
Yes.
She snuck in.
Yeah.
She wasn't registered as a woman. She snuck in.
No, because her first initial, she just put her first initial and
Yeah.
last
Then
name.
they got her on the course, and that's why they tried to assault her and get her
Yep.
off the course. She didn't register as a woman. She snuck on.
Yes, they saw her running, and they're like, who is that?
Yeah. And there's pictures of grown men going, "You can't do it, you're a woman," trying to tackle her.
yeah. And her boyfriend actually pushed the race manager down. So
Yeah, she's in sexy gray sweats in those pictures.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It reminds me of the time where they unsegregating schools, and you have these white women just yelling that they're bringing little black girls trying to go into school.
Yeah, I know.
and just the hate on their faces and the anger and
Kind of like what we have today.
Yeah.
No different.
It's funny they've been interviewed, because they're still alive, and they're like, I really didn't know why I did that. Like, yeah, because you're a freaking
Because
racist.
you're racist and society was telling you that it's not right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so many people don't think they're racist, but their whole group and clan is, and so they gotta get along with everybody in their clan. In your neighborhood, they're like, we don't want a black person here. Yeah, you're right. We don't want a black person in here.
Right.
And
It's
so
the
you just
group mentality.
Exactly.
Yeah. But the same mentality with racism, sexism, for sure. And it's there and it's real.
Yeah.
You don't have to get along with everybody in your neighborhood. Example, the world's most infamous woman, Elizabeth Bathory. Elizabeth Bathory is in the Guinness Book of World Records, and she's considered Countess Elizabeth Bathory to be the most prolific female serial killer of all time. She was accused of not only killing, torturing, mutilating, maiming, and of course, ultimately killing around 650 women between the years of 1585 to 1610.
Jeez.
I guess when you have power as a countess, you can kill everybody you want.
Well, there was no security cameras back there to catch her.
Yeah.
No fingerprinting, no DNA.
This is worse than...
She went swimming. I don't know what happened to her.
This is worse than, I believe it's Mary Queen of Scots, who actually... Was she the one who used to bathe in the blood of virgins?
Yeah.
Yeah, this person's worse. This person is worse.
There were some twisted folks back then. When you had power, who was going to stop you?
And if all you have is sheep and a bunch of cold land around you, of course you're going to need to bathe in some warm blood. So I get that, Mary.
If you are a person in power and you got a bunch of serfs below you, pretty much do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'm going to behead 30 of you and put all your heads on a stake out front. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, not much.
Well,
That's depressing.
how about something to lift you up a little bit, huh? How about a good game of Monopoly? Lizzie Maggie is the woman who invented
You
Monopoly.
got to have a name like Lizzie Maggie.
Lizzie Maggie. Gotta
First
love her.
names.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, what can you say? But nobody knows. But she is the woman who made us all cheat with our brothers and sisters.
When did she invent Monopoly?
She invented it. Don't
I read
ask
the other
me
day
questions.
they're totally going to revamp Monopoly for
They
a
should.
more modern play.
I heard that too. And then there's going to be classic Monopoly and modern Monopoly. And then
Well, you know why old board games aren't that great is like Monopoly and Risk and that type of stuff is that they don't have
for
an
yourself.
ending. They don't have an ending though. So it's like Monopoly could just go on for 3 hours if you let it.
that's
Modern
why,
board
you
games.
cheat.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you cheat and you finally give up and you throw and you get in arguments. But it's like all of the modern day board games are like, hey, there's a time period and it ends,
Just like everything else. Nobody has any attention span, or they're just like, get it off as fast as I can.
Well, think about it. Back in the day, TV went off at midnight. And, if you wanted to do something, you'd have to play a board game, right?
Yeah.
But now we have everything. So we only want to have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be as fast as I can. It's got to squeeze into my little window. Mm-hmm. We would have Risk games for 3 days, sometimes 4.
Sure. When you were 12.
No, when I was like 22.
Did you really?
We would set up the board with my neighbors and we would play for a couple hours. I'm like, okay, we're going to go to bed. And we'd leave the board set up and then next day we'd come back to it.
Gotcha.
So Women's History Month, month of March. The reason I bring it up is because obviously overall women are not celebrated as much as they should be, right? They've been objectified. They've been held down. They've been made fun of. A lot of things from a negative patriarchal world. But here's what I want to state, and I think this is really ironic. Women, the female sex worldwide, is probably more impactful than the male. And I bring that up, and here's the reason. When men go to war and they get hurt and they're dying, no one calls out for their dad.
That's true.
They always call out for their mother. When you name a powerful big thing like a ship, or you have a powerful vehicle like a car, it's always the name of a female. Basically, what we're doing is we're associating everything that's good that we hold dear to our hearts to the female. So basically, we 3 men suck. Well, the month of March celebrates people like Betty Crocker, my hero. That's it.
Thanks, Mark. And have a piece of cake on us.
We'll see you next time on Damn Opinion. Tune in for our next podcast, when you'll hear the big, the bold, and the bald give their opinions on everything entertainment. damopinion.com.